¿Qué tal, amigos y amigas? Muy buenos días. Son las 10 de la mañana en punto. Hoy, en este miércoles 6 de noviembre de 2024, vamos a dar referencia un día después de este martes, que no sé cómo lo vamos a llamar, pero seguramente habrá un antes y un después de este martes 5 de noviembre, en donde se dieron dos situaciones muy importantes a nivel mundial, una y otra a nivel local. A nivel local, este ejercicio que hizo la Suprema Corte de Justicia de la Nación, en donde existía una propuesta para poder revisar, vamos a llamarlo así, la reforma al Poder Judicial. Sin embargo, esta fue desestimada, no fue aceptada. Ya la historia juzgará si esta oportunidad realmente se perdió o si fue el camino correcto. Sin embargo, pues es lo que es y esa parte pues no jaló. Por el otro lado, elecciones en los Estados Unidos. Creo que la sorpresa o la gran sorpresa es simplemente que las casas encuestadoras pues no le atinaron, ¿no? Porque no fue una elección tan cerrada como lo habían pronosticado. En realidad, el señor Donald Trump será el siguiente nuevo presidente de los Estados Unidos, lo cual tiene una repercusión en los mercados. Las bolsas de valores están subiendo, los mercados están contentos, al parecer. No así la relación peso-dólar. El peso ayer llegó a cotizarse ya a 20.78. Esta mañana bajó un poquitito a 10.60, 10.70 y pues vamos a estar muy atentos a ver qué es lo que pasa en el resto del día. Esto es un capítulo más de Inmobiliariamente y el día de hoy tenemos a un invitado muy especial. Tenemos una sesión que será en inglés porque el día de hoy tenemos como invitado al director general de una de las empresas líderes en la industria del PropTech. PropTech es toda esta industria de la tecnología enfocada a el mundo inmobiliario y pues bueno, ya hemos tenido algunos invitados aquí para hablar de manera local a nivel México. El día de hoy vamos a hablar con el señor Carlos Matias. Carlos Matias tiene origen portugués, por lo cual tiene este nombre que suena latino. Sin embargo, sigue trabajando en perfeccionar su español, pero el día de hoy lo vamos a tener y vamos a platicar con él en inglés. Vamos a tener esta entrevista. Les recordamos que estamos completamente en vivo y que nos pueden hacer llegar todas sus preguntas en vivo, comentarios a través de Facebook, a través de YouTube, y pues de esta manera podremos interactuar el día de hoy. Mi nombre es Eric Cházaro y este es un capítulo más de Inmobiliariamente. Carlos, good morning. Thank you for accepting this invitation and for being today at one more chapter of Inmobiliariamente. Good morning in Canada. How are you?
Good morning. Very good. How are you? Thank you so much for inviting me to be on this podcast. I'm very honored to be here and looking forward to speaking to everybody that's joining.
Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. We have been trying to arrange this meeting, but you have a tight agenda, and it is no surprise that you have such a tight agenda with this incredible company that you're leading, which is called Phoenix Software. Tell us a little bit about your background, Carlos. Where are you from? Why do you have this Latin name? And what did you study? Tell us a little bit about your background as a person.
Sure. Of course. Yeah, I was originally born in Portugal, very close to Lisbon. And so I'm originally Portuguese, and that's why I get the very Portuguese name, Carlos Matias. And my father immigrated to Canada when I was very young. And so I've lived most of my life in Canada, in Toronto, around the Toronto area. And so, I grew up in the area around Toronto and went to school there. I actually did take computer science in school as a study. So I was actually a programmer, like back in the day, many years ago now. So that's my background. But my passion was not necessarily programming. It was more understanding what people needed and how technology could help them be more productive, more successful. And so I found that I was very good at doing that translation between what customers are asking for and how technology could help them. And so that, I went through school, started very early as an entrepreneur. My father was an entrepreneur as well, so I got the entrepreneurial spirit from my father. He started a business very early with very little education, but lots of courage and hard work. And I learned that with a lot of courage and hard work, you can accomplish anything. So I started my business from scratch and started with a few customers here and there. But very early on, one of my customers was from the real estate industry, and so I started with them in Europe. Started to do work with them in Europe, and realized there was a bit of a niche or an opportunity. And it took a number of years to get to some critical mass, but I managed to get to like about 20 countries within 4 or 5 years. And now today we've reached a peak around 80 countries worldwide.
Wow, 80 countries. I didn't know there were so many countries in the world.
Yeah, there's still some more, but we not all of them have a lot of real structured real estate yet. So, but we typically work with companies like KW to help them when they're expanding internationally. We don't do a lot of work in the US and Canada. It's mainly outside the US and Canada, where there is no MLS, and we need some platforms to help agents get organized and share and manage their customers, etc.
Right. When was that? When did you launch your own company?
So the company started in 1997. So 27 years ago now. So it's been a long journey.
That sounds like 3 centuries talking about PropTech, and technology. What has changed since 1997?
So much. So when I launched my company, they had just introduced flip phones. Do you remember the phones where you flip them open and they had just a dial on them? That was the big technology launch there. There was no Google back then. Like Google didn't even exist. There was Alta Vista and some other Yahoo. It was the biggest website on the internet, and the internet even was all dial-up. Remember the old dial-up internet? So yeah, exactly. So that's how we started. Our software was mainly desktop with some uploading to some new thing called the websites. And I remember when websites came out, it was very rudimentary, very basic. But we did start off right away building things that supported different languages, different countries. That was always our forte, is understanding how to make a platform adaptable to local markets, because that was important. So, making it specific to the Mexican market, or Europe, or places that needed local language, things like that.
Wow. Now, going back to all these changes, were the changes a straight line, or was it like a hockey, or has it been like ups and downs, or is it lately something that it's happening faster than before? How are changes happening, and how has that been in the last 27 years?
Yeah, I would say there's been a few waves. So the introduction of the internet was the first wave. So, even having the ability to search for listings online was a huge thing. But there got up to a point where the internet became a critical mass, right? Where like a big portion, because when the internet first got introduced, it was very expensive. Not a lot of people had it. It was cumbersome. When we got high-speed internet in the big markets, then there was a big increase in usage. And that's where the interest of real estate, people being able to search themselves, not relying on agents to have some book in their office or some back office system, being able to really, as a consumer, search myself for listings was one of the big booms. And that happened, that was probably like early 2000s, 2005, when we saw that big boom. And that's where the first question came right away: is this going to replace real estate agents? Right? We get asked that question all the time. So I'll tell you how many times we got asked that question. So that, and I was very confident that, that doesn't replace real estate agents. It's going to make them more productive. It's going to make consumers more knowledgeable, but the agent is still going to be an important part of that transaction. So that was the first wave. And then I would say, and one of the things I characterize it's not necessarily a curve, but one of our challenges, and I would say one of the reasons we're successful as a business for so long, because it's very unprecedented to have a business like ours around for 27 years. We've gone through a lot of, imagine, different technologies, global crises, pandemics, .com booms and busts, and all this great stuff. But I would even say that was challenging. Those were challenging times. But the most challenging thing for me and for my team is there's so many different technologies that have come and gone, and like this is the next big thing, and this is the next big thing. And staying focused on what is really going to stick. You know what I mean? What is not spending a lot of distractions on things, and we've had distractions. We haven't been perfect at it either. But staying the course on what are the things that are really going to help and have longevity. And there's been many examples of technologies that are like, oh my God, this is the next big thing. And you invest money and time, and then all of a sudden, it falls off as a thing, right? So that's been one of the biggest challenges, I would say, just distractions of different things. And we call it our wheelhouse. We try to stay within our wheelhouse. Like, we don't do email, for example. We did email for a while, but that's not our business, is hosting email. So let Google and Microsoft deal with that. And what do we focus on? And that's been a challenge over the years. And so I would say that the next big boom, I would say, has been like mobile usage, right? So the increased, first it was mobile apps. That was the big push, right? Everybody had to, because the phones didn't really do well accessing information by itself. So we had the big boom of building mobile apps. So we set up a team, and we had people just building mobile apps, and that became a thing, a wave that, again, increased adoption, because then people had another way to search for listings and being able to contact agents, things like that. So that was another big push. And then I would say, as the volume got larger, the data was another big thing. So big data, having all the activity of users on the websites. What are they searching for? What did they favorite? What did they share? Then combining that with what did they respond to with agents, about what did they respond to emails and marketing campaigns and things like that. So all that data is useful to help agents, again, be more productive and see what's important to them, creating dashboards and things like that to help them with that. And then the latest one, as you imagine, is AI is, even though AI has been around for 10 plus years, I've dabbled with AI more than 10 years ago here in Toronto, but with the advent of like large computing power and better advancements in AI, it's now a very important part of our solution as well, and the future as well. We're going to leverage that as much as we can.
Wow, what happened with COVID? Did it have some effect in PropTech? Did people got more technologized, so to say, more technologic, or did it stay the same? Did it have any effect in your industry?
Yeah, we found that agents became more tech enabled. Agents actually had to leverage technology more, because they couldn't rely on the face-to-face. So we actually introduced very quickly things like virtual showings, where they could do a showing through Zoom and Teams, and do that straight through the product, so that they couldn't go do a showing face-to-face. So we had to react quickly to that as well, and add things like that. Ironically, we saw a big jump in our users, number of users joining companies like Keller Williams, because they were, a lot of these people were in like the restaurant industry or retail, and those shops were all closed. So a lot of people had to find alternatives. And so we actually saw a big jump in the number of users we had worldwide because of COVID.
Right. Yeah. That's very interesting too, because that COVID thing really changed many industries and the way things work right now. Before to the questions of the public, let me ask you this. You just mentioned that a lot of people ask you if technology is going to replace the real estate agent, and I agree with you that that's not going to happen in the short term, at least not outside of the United States and Canada, where everything is run in a little different way. But there's another question, and that other question is if the technology companies are going to replace the real estate agencies because they seem to like the real estate industry. And we saw that in the United States with Zillow. But is it happening somewhere else as well as in Mexico? Do you see that in those other 80 countries where you are working right now? Are the portals trying to get into the real estate industry? Do you know?
For sure. So, for me, I always characterize portals as the necessary evil. But for me, portals, in my view, are taking advantage of real estate agents, because for me, the listing is the product of an agent. A portal does not generate listings other than the for sale by owners, right? Which for me is another category which agents need to conquer better. But for me, if an agent is creating a listing, giving that listing to a portal so they can make money off it and paying them in many cases to do that, for me is very counterintuitive. For me, I've seen many regions internationally where they take more control of their inventory, of their product, try and sell it internally, try and promote it internally first within the network of professionals within, for example, KW, before we send it to the portals. And we've seen this in many countries where the brands and the organized real estate are fighting against portals by controlling their inventory much better and not being so dependent on portals. Because I've seen in also where portals have started to franchise and actually provide services like a franchise and competing with them after they had all this cooperation. So I, very much in favor of having strategies to compete against portals, not necessarily feed them and continue to have them get more power. But where I see with AI is I actually see AI has an opportunity to actually really combat the portals by providing, searches and ways to search that will take advantage of the portal data, but provide it in a different form where there is no cost and there is, agents can also take advantage and, again, level the playing field a little bit. So I think, I don't think portals will replace the real estate agent, right? What I feel is just like with any other technology, a good agent, if they leverage AI, because they're not competing against AI. I don't think an agent is competing against AI. What an agent needs to do is leverage AI to make themselves compete against other agents and portals. So if they can leverage the tools, I think they can be much more successful than people who don't use the tools.
Yeah, I agree. Those agents who embrace technology, those are the ones who are going to replace the non-technological guys or non-tech agents. That there's still a lot of them walking around that don't want to embrace technology, and if they don't, they might just get out of business, right?
Yeah, it's like agents. We see it there. We see it in our profile of our agents. We have agents that are 60, 70 years old. They're not big technology adopters, and so they have their network, and that works for them. And but they are soon going to leave the industry and retire. And the younger agents and the ones coming in understand their customer better and understand they're very technologically savvy, whether that's social media, whether that's AI, leveraging the tools to address their address their customers and their leads. I think that's definitely just a natural progression, because we saw this even just, like I say, go back a decade, where if you didn't know how to promote things on the internet, and never mind before social media, right? Like you just need to know how to promote yourself and how to get out there, just using the technology that was available then. That hasn't changed, just the tools are different and they're more sophisticated sometimes, but it doesn't mean that it's important for you to leverage and get up to speed. And if you're not sure, get a team together, get an assistant, somebody that can help you with that. If you're not so technically savvy, these are things that you can now find people all over the world to help you remotely. You can hire virtual assistants from Philippines for like $2 an hour that will help you with your social media on a daily basis. So the opportunities are out there to make sure you stay ahead.
Right. Let's go to one of the questions of our audience. Carolina Chavez from Mexico City is asking us this. Well, one of the biggest challenges for realtors, for agents, is submitting the data to track our own performance. How can we make it easier with tech? What plans do you have on that field, or she's a KW agent, so perhaps you can tell her what she can do through control panel.
Right. Yes, that's a great question. So part of that is we provide a mobile app that synchronizes with your calendar. So as far as your data, as far as performance of like how you're responding, setting up meetings, your listing performance on the website, we host your website, so we have performance from your website. We have integrations with portals, so we got that data, and then we have a dashboard for every agent where you can see your high-level KPIs, where you can see number of new leads you received, how many buyer matches you have, how much commission you've made. All these kind of things can be accessible on a dashboard. Actually, commission one is a little bit tricky, but listings, buyer matches, lead sources, where the leads came from. So the idea of your dashboard is it helps you centralize all your data. Now, it's important to enter that data, make sure that data is entered. And that's one of the biggest challenges we have is, having agents record it. Like we have a mobile app. There's a KW control panel mobile app that you can download for free. And there you can record all your activities, and that will automatically feed into your dashboard. And as even in the market center, the OP of your market center has an app that they can also drill down on every agent and compare and look at their performance of their individual agents as well. So that's so dashboards is one of the key areas of and having a mentor so the idea of having an OP or somebody that can help you look at your dashboard together and say, hey, where did you spend your time? What kind of activities have you done? How does this compare to other agents? That kind of thing.
Right. Carlos, one of the I would say greatest advantages or greatest things about you and your team, and let me say hello to David, and et cetera, all the team, is that you're great listeners. You listen to your clients and you try to accommodate or try to develop new things into the technology that you provide as a solution for how real estate agents are or what they're dealing with in their reality.
Right.
What can you tell us about what is coming to control panel in Keller, Mexico, which is going to be like the big thing now that you feel proud of, that you can share with us? What is cooking right
now? Well, we have a number of things. I would say, we have introduced some AI tools into the tool today around like generating listing descriptions, looking at analyzing your images, but we have some plans to further that. And what we're looking at is, again, from the data that we're collecting, is collecting the activities of the customers on the website and the leads that are generated, and correlating that to which turned into transactions, like which ones turned into sold listings, and then finding that patterns and using AI to find patterns so that when a lead comes in, we can really give you a better sense of like, you should spend a lot of time with this contact because based on what we see, this is going to be a really good chance this person will convert. And so, or the opposite, where this person, the likelihood of them converting is much lower. And so helping the agent save time by analyzing the trends and using AI to really formulate a rating of which leads to focus their time, because their time is limited. So, which ones do they focus their time on? That's one area. The other area is in the aspect of using AI to save time and adding listings. We've been experimenting with the idea of, imagine the way you add a listing is by uploading your photos first. So just upload your photos. We will analyze those photos and actually draft a listing for you, right? Because we can analyze what's in the photos. We can analyze the location of the photos, features, and even come up with a description, a draft description, and help the agent save time by uploading photos as the first step, and then they go in and fine tune and verify that, make sure, and that feedback loop back to the AI engine, so it gets smarter over time. It can actually help with filling in listings faster.
Wow, that sounds incredible. That's gonna take so much time from a lot of agents and make them a little bit lazier.
Yeah, and even things like, hey, this photo is not good enough, right? Like imagine they upload a photo, we can analyze, say, this, with all due respect, I see photos of toilets and things like that that really should never be on a listing. And it would be analyze those and say, like, this is not good enough. This is not going to help you. And even some of the other platforms like Instagram and places like that actually do some of that analysis as well today, where it'll help you saying, like, this is not going to be good for you, or choose the right default photo, things like that, that'll help increase your leads. So
would you agree that the photos are still the king, let's say, the most important variable in your listing are the photos, professional photos, on top of descriptions, on top of virtual tours or videos? Is still the pictures, the photos that create engagement of the client?
I would actually say for us, video is above photos. So we're seeing a big trend. We are now seeing over 40% of our videos in some countries, or sorry, 40% of our listings now in some countries have videos. And so we promote that first. So if a listing has a video, we actually show that first, because that's the most engaging media you can provide to a customer, right? Photos are cool, but if there's a good, it doesn't have to be professional, it doesn't have to be like polished production. It should be true, honest, as if you're talking to your customer, and gives them a sense of the property with some basic description and stuff like that. We find that really helps with SEO and lead engagement. So video, I would say, would actually trump photos, but photos are super important though, because we're also working on some of the AI tools out there. We're going to be able to take the photos and actually create like a virtual tour based on the photos, because we know that virtual tour concept is, people like that because it gives them a sense of the house or the home, because it puts it all together for them. So photos are important because it's a source for, like I'm saying, the description, the details, but also we can do more with photos if we have good quality ones.
Right. So we could say perhaps that the picture or the main photo is the one who's going to create the interest to click on it, and then after that, the video is the one who's going to create the engagement, perhaps, and then in a kind of a addition to all of that comes description, as many variables as possible, so you can provide as much information as possible to your client, right?
Yeah, the description in the end, we found, based on the feedback we've heard, is, there's always a balance of a long, drawn-up description, and, if you have good photos and good list of features, the description should be more about the feelings and less about the facts, and trying to help them help the customer envision themselves living in that place and why it's so cool.
Right. And the benefits, right?
Yeah.
The benefits on living.
The benefits.
Carlos, you are a provider of technology of great competitors who are competitors worldwide. How do you deal with that? With offering a solution and listening to a company like KW, but then at the same time going and serving your competitors. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's something that, it's challenging at times, but generally speaking, it's about, we provide a slightly different version for every customer. Control panel is just for KW. It has certain features that we always ask, we try to understand what's KW's like secret sauce, right? And based on that secret sauce, we try to make sure it's tailored, has some tailored areas for that. And the other brands have their secret sauce, right? So everybody has their things that they focus on. Like every dashboard is different. They have their own KPIs that they focus on. Obviously, some of them are the same. Real estate is real estate in many cases, but there are KPIs that are way different on some of the other customers that we work on. So we try to adapt as much as we can. Like the brochures are different, the marketing materials are different, but a listing is not that different between, everybody wants to say, oh, my KW listing is different than the others. The reality is they're not, right? So it's not that, but about the other things like branding and some features are always adapted for each customer.
You talked about 80 countries. How many users are using now technology developed by Phoenix?
So I have a group of companies. So I have Phoenix and PropTech Solutions, which services different brands. So the group of companies, we have about 60,000 users worldwide.
About 60,000.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, outside Canada and the United States, as you
That's
said.
right, not including US and Canada. We don't do really any work there. And we have about 1 million active listings.
1 million active listings.
Okay. Yes, worldwide. And 40 languages.
All right. Now tell me, what do you envision as the future? What is coming? What are the new trends coming for PropTech in the future?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so one of the big things that we're working on is talking to within the country where we have multiple customers, is to start to provide MLS type functionality where you guys can start to share listings amongst within a controlled way. So you would have access to listings from other brands within Control Panel and be able to promote those listings, again, with some rules and regulations in place. But because we know that, like in North America and US and Canada, that's just the normal way of doing business. And we're finding a lot more interest in, that the brands are starting to collaborate and be a little bit more, comfortable with the idea of us in a controlled way, sharing listings and being able to promote each other's listings so that we can, again, compete against the portals, get that value, try to sell that listing, expose it to more buyers from more places, and try to sell that listing faster and for more money.
Wow. So collaboration, it's going to be the next big thing.
Yeah, I was just in Milan a few weeks ago at an MLS, the International MLS Forum, and our goal there, there's a number of companies represented there, and the idea is to start to work towards some standards of how do we start to establish like a global MLS that will have all the listings from everybody in the world, and we want to definitely be a part of that.
Nice. Now, we have been listening and talking about the two big things, which are big data and artificial intelligence. What is the new thing coming, would you say, in the next 10 years or 15 years that is going to be the new big thing?
The new big thing. I would say that once we have AI working in various areas, I'm very passionate about the concept of like augmented reality, which is the idea now we take data in our day-to-day world and imagine doing searches, and some of this is there today, but it's a little bit clunky and a little bit, this is where we got to get AI working a little bit better, but to be able to connect customers based on their location, based on their environment, be able to say, hey, there's a listing, you registered for this listing here, but it's sort of as you're traveling around, hey, there's a listing close by and there's an agent close by, a little bit of the Uber moment where we're connecting people that are looking for homes with agents that have homes for sale and connecting them in a very convenient way, frictionless way, like Uber does. I'm a big believer in the Uber model for real estate, and that's making that transaction a lot more frictionless, but also connecting people, like Uber connected drivers that have cars with people who need a ride. Mm-hmm. We need to connect people that are looking to buy or rent with inventory available and those agents that are available to show those properties, even if it's not their property, but show any property that they're close by and connect them very, very seamlessly.
Wow. Do you see blockchain technology getting close to the PropTech technology?
Blockchain is very interesting. It's been around for a while as well. When it came out, I was very excited, but when I went to a few conferences and saw the challenge ahead, that because blockchain has been trying to get integrated into other industries like logistics and financial. And the challenge is to get everybody to agree on, what is a listing? What is a sale? What are all the data we're going to save about that? And so this is where I'm excited about having like an MLS international forum, because part of the goal of that is to standardize a listing. What is a listing? Because once you have a standard listing, then blockchain is way more feasible. But until you get that standard in place, we're part of RESO, which is a North American group that has standardized real estate in the US and Canada, and now they're looking to expand internationally. And so now we're partnering with them to help try and establish an international standard, which will then help us expedite things like blockchain and MLS internationally.
All right. Well, so those are, let's say, the blue oceans. What are the risks that you envision for the industry that might happen that we need to be aware? What do you think?
I don't know if I would call this a risk, but I think it's an important step in the industry. And I don't recall how far you guys are in Mexico, but I'm seeing this in various places in South America, is the concept of licensing for agents. And I'm even seeing the concept of licensing or authorization for listings. So there are certain governments where they are now saying you can't have a listing online unless it's been verified by the government as a valid listing. And that's to avoid all the, bad agents out there putting out fraudulent listings to capture leads and then, trick people into buying and selling stuff. And that's where the licensing and standardization of listings or listing process, it's a risk because for me, the agents who don't conform to that, they're going to get squeezed out of the industry. But I think that's a good thing. I think it's an important step because as you know, anybody can wake up one day and be an agent, and people just assume that they are authorized and they're trained well, but we know that that's not always the case. So, so it's important, I think. We've had it in North America for years, and I think it makes a huge difference. It also helps with cooperation because if I'm going to cooperate with another agent, I want to make sure that person is going to represent the other side well and do a good transaction and not mess up my customer. So it also helps with agent-to-agent confidence in sharing and being able to do those things. So I think the licensing is a bit of a risk to the industry from the sense that it's going to shake things up. But I honestly think it's an important step to go to make the industry more professional and more productive, because we also see a lot of agents registered in our platform with like one sale a year or one listing, and those are not real agents to me. Those are part-time, unprofessional. Yeah. So definitely, I think it's a step that needs to be taken by the industry.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Well, one of my one of the jokes that I keep telling people is that for every divorce, 2 real estate agents are born, and that's not Mexico, that's worldwide.
Yeah,
but in Mexico, we have now this norm that it's called I think it's 257, no 247, which is gonna once it gets enforced, people or agents in Mexico are not. It's not gonna be as easy as to just load up pictures and make an incredible description that doesn't match what the house really is. And if it's with furniture and somebody wants to buy it, they're going to be enabled to get the furniture because it was advertised that way and stuff like that.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, we're going to move into those fields. Definitely.
Yeah, and the key to that too is the enforcement, and that's where the licensing is important. So if an agent does go against the rules, there needs to be ramifications. And if they lose their license, for example, then that's a big ramification. And that's where we need a governing body like an R or something similar from the government or some organization that will help sort of set the rules, but also enforce the rules.
And that goes back to cooperation, which is that thing I just mentioned. Carlos Matias, thank you so much. We've run out of time. We have some people saying, well, hello, and their comments. Julian Cadena, for example, from Mexico City, is online, making some comments. I say hello to him. Carlos, thank you so much for being here with us. We're going to be inviting you sometime soon so you can present perhaps everything that is new coming from Control Panel. A lot of KW are going to be wanting to have a perhaps closer way to get to know those things. So we can do that too. And again, thank you so much. What would you like to say goodbye to the crowd?
Yeah, I would just like to say, thank you so much again for allowing me to be here, and definitely make sure you stay on top of the new updates, whether it's from Control Panel or anywhere. You know, and don't be afraid of it. AI is not scary. It's not a Terminator. It's there to help you, not to be a scary thing. And yeah, I look forward to talking more and discussing the future of technology for PropTech. Thank you so much.
All right, perfect. Carlos Matias, muchas gracias. Esto fue un programa más de Inmobiliariamente. Mi nombre es Eric Cházaro y nos vemos el próximo miércoles.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks.